Do you have it decided when you want some of these battles to be settled at other positions?
Most of them are settled.
Are they?
Yeah, most of them are settled. There's a little gray area, you know, like a couple guys that got here real late that you know, there's a little juggling, but I'd say over 90% of the depth that you're getting next Tuesday is already done.
Do your players know?
No.
They don't know yet?
No, we can't tell them. No, but they know. Here's what they know. They know if they're still fighting. You know, they know how close it is. They're not blind. You know, they can watch the tape and see who's playing better than the others and who's getting more reps because of it. You know, I think when you go by that objectivity, you know, form of analysis and just, you know, play guys based on performance, it makes things a heck of a lot easier.
Is that ahead of where you thought you'd be, or is that a good spot?
Well, that's where you'd hope. That's where you'd hope you'd be by now. You'd hope you'd kind of know, you know who you're going with, because you have to. I think the one thing that happens in training camp is you don't really build a ton of continuity because you're rolling people in and out so much, and it isn't just rolling 1s and 2s and 3s. You know, now you start rolling 1s and 1As. Like, okay, if something happens to this guy, who's going in? You know, you've seen with Gavin Howard playing right guard and right tackle, for example. Is Gavin Howard going to spend the majority of his reps at right guard, or is he going to be at right tackle? You know, when the first depth chart, I'll give you an example, comes out, you know, he and Dent will be listed at right guard, but he'll also be listed as a potential right tackle. I mean, so, you know, in the first game, you could see Gavin playing right guard and right tackle.
What about the number 2 QB spot? Last time I asked you this, you said Mike was slightly ahead. I mean, that's.
Well, why don't we talk about the number 1 quarterback? Why don't we talk about the number 2 quarterback? What difference does it make who the number 2 quarterback is? We're playing number 10. Let's talk about number 10. You know, but if right now Michael's ahead of Turner.
Is that going to?
Right, he's ahead of him, and if we were playing a game this week, Michael would be number 2.
With your offense?
Excuse me.
No problem.
He's just played better.
Describe a little bit how the play calling process will work. Will Dane have one play or a group of plays to choose from? Will he call his own play?
Well, it depends. It depends, first of all, where you're playing. When you're playing at home, there's a lot more versatility than when you're playing on the road, mainly because when you're on offense, the fans allow you, you know, to verbally be able to communicate a relatively easier task. But I'd say right off the bat, it'll be, you know, he's going to have a lot. He's going to have a lot, you know, a lot going on right from the start.
Since Dane arrived, you know, it's been nothing but positive that we've heard from you and the other players and him, you know, about, you know, his progress. But from a guy that sees him every day and knows what, you know, has an expectation level for him, what have you seen as far as improvement from Dane?
Well, first of all, it's not all positives with me when it's in practice, in case you're wondering. You know, I just believe that the quarterback's the place to coach the quarterback, you know, as far as mistakes is on the field. You know, I think that's why I make the games almost easier for the quarterback, because I coach him hard in practice so that when the time the game comes, you know, the games are easier. And I think that, you know, I think right now he's looking forward to the game starting. And I'm being a tad bit sarcastic when I say that, because in reality, you know, he's ready to lead the team and let's go play and let's get out of this grind, the training camp mentality grind, and get into a normal routine. Believe it or not, the happiest people around here are the athletes that are in training camp. Because when school starts, you now go on to a 20-hour work week. You know, you go away from that, you know, that endless 6 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night routine, and get into that 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. You know, 1 hour on Friday, 3 hours on Saturday, and that's it. I mean, that's the work week. You know, so I think they're really happy to get to that point.
Coach, how do you feel about your receivers coming out of camp? Can you just talk a little bit about that position group?
Well, I mean, as I told you, there's a lot of candidates. You know, and some of them have been a bit of a surprise. Moving up or moving down. We all know about the 3 seniors, and they've had a nice camp. I've talked about Pick because he had an extraordinary camp. But Damon's had a good camp. Bashir's had a good camp, and then there's a lot of other candidates that that we feel good about. I feel good about Chris Amigi. I feel good about Andrew Drizelli. I feel really good about Trey Parmalee, and I kept saying that for a while, and everyone thought that I was just throwing a name out there, just for the heck of it. But he's played himself into contention to legitimately play. And ideally, when I brought him in here, I looked at him in his house and I said, "Well, that's a red shirt," and then you go out there to practice. That's not the way he's played, and everyone will tell you the same thing from the starting quarterback right on through. All he's done is make plays all the time. Now, that doesn't mean that it ends at 6 guys, but I'm using him as an example. Like, you bring a kid in, he's 170 pounds soaking wet, you figure out, okay, let's sit him down for a year and let him develop, but he's just made too many plays. And he's made them in a return game, he made them at receiver, and he makes them every day.
How about Damon Patterson specifically? What did you like about him during camp?
Well, he's one of the top guys we have. He's dependable. Okay, he's dependable. He gets open. He's a reliable pass catcher. He catches the ball with his hands, not his body. He could be a dynamic punt returner. I'm going to end up probably listing him first. But, are you willing to use him and take one of your top receivers and, as many times as they punt a game, put them at risk every single time. So, that's the type of questions you have to ask, the risk-reward factor. But he's been one of the more dependable guys all through camp, and he's already got some ability. Even he basically was off last year, in reality. So God bless you. So it's really good to see, he's back and ready to go.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Anthony McDonald and also how, I guess, the status of him and also how Ben Heaney has responded sliding over to middle linebacker?
Yeah, first of all, Anthony, has been well documented, has been spending, early in practices a good portion of the time with Brian Moore hanging out on the bicycles over there, because, he's had a track record of, a list of things that he's got banged up on, and then we want to make sure that when he's going, he's a full go, ready to go, because he only knows one way to play. He's one of those guys, tackle to tackle, hit you as hard as you could possibly hit you. That's the only game he knows. There's no passive game in how he plays, so he's got to be turned free to go ahead and play that game. And some of the things we do, that's not the game you're playing. You can say, well, when wouldn't you play that way? Well, when you're playing the whole game on the edge in space, that's not what you're doing. In the meantime, when Heaney said that he's moved into that position right there, Heaney's got a lot of athleticism. Last year you saw him make a bunch of plays on special teams. When you can make plays in the open field and special teams, usually it's a true indicator that you got yourself some athleticism. I think he's responded very nicely, to that position.
Coach, I think everyone kind of just assumes that Dane has developed as he's going to get, because it seems like you guys are so familiar and everything, and you mentioned earlier you wanted people to ask about him. So, how's he adjusted to playing here in Lawrence, and how does he?
He really likes it here. You remember now, the kid hasn't had the best few years here now. Just when he's getting ready to be the man, the head coach gets canned. You come in, new system, you don't fit, and didn't go so well. So now you're back into the same system that you did fit. Okay, with decent skill guys around you. Okay, with veteran offensive linemen in front of you. Okay, with a team that you come in that everyone thinks is going to be crummy. That's a pretty good situation. How can he lose? There's only one way to go, and that's up, right? You know, but look at the upside. Let's look at that end of the spectrum. You know, the upside is through the roof. I mean, this could be a wonderful story, and I'd like to be writing it. You know, and not for me, but for him, because I'm a very, 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 very big fan of the young man.
How does he get better?
Well, he can get better in a lot of different ways. You know, I think that, you know, trying not to be the coach. Sometimes, you know, quarterbacks who are playing the system try to be too cerebral. You know, and sometimes they have to be reminded that they're the player, not the coach. You know, try not to do too much, in other words. You know, just do what the play tells you to do. Don't try to do too much. I mean, like the other day, there was a audible that, you know, we haven't run here. There was an audible we haven't run here. We went out and practiced, and there it was, and he checked to it, and we ran for about 30 yards. And I just started, and I saw what he was doing. There it was. I said, and I'm talking to Ed, said, he's going to check to this. And Ron goes, no. I said, Ron, I'm telling you, that's what he's doing. He's checking to this. And there it was. He checked to a run, and we ran to the left side, ran for about 30 yards. So, I mean, that's something that we hadn't, no one on the team had ever had that discussion yet. Now, we've had it, but that was 3 years ago. So it was good to see. They all knew what the play was running because they heard the name of the play before. But the fact that he can get you in it, that's important. That he can say, hey, that one's not working, but this one will work pretty good.
So you don't give him any grief for doing anything like that as long as,
Oh, no,
as long as it works?
No. It's called an attaboy, you know. Okay, when it works, it's an attaboy. If it doesn't work, that's what the hell are you doing? You know what I mean? So they all know that. You know, I told them, you throw it to the wrong guy, okay, everyone's going to, you throw a completion, you're going to come off and everyone's going to say, great, great, great. And I said, and I'm going to give you an attaboy. Now I said, now if you throw it to the wrong guy and it doesn't work out, I'm going to say, what are you doing?